Luis, your first defeat of the season. How do you sum up the night and the performance?
Yeah, my feeling is sad and a bad feeling, of course. But I have to say that we couldn't compete at the level that they did, and they deserve to win the match. And they press us high the whole first match, and they got 2 goals, and after that they defend in a different way, and they deserve that victory.
Were Arsenal all you expected in terms of their approach?
Yeah, I know the intensity of that team, how they play with the ball, on the ball and off the ball. They are at the high level, top level, no doubt in that. It wasn't a surprise. We knew that the standards were there.
Is the frustration for you as well the second goal to score direct from a free kick?
That happens in football, it's normal, and we have to accept we were losing almost every single duel, and against a team like Arsenal, so aggressive in the pressure, and you don't win the duels, you are going to suffer. And okay, we'll try to go on and think about the next match.
And how do you view now for Paris Saint-Germain the next sequence of games? You have some difficult games in this competition.
Yeah, we were the team with the worst draw, and we have to manage that.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Just as exactly what we talked about Arsenal pressing high, and they couldn't beat the press. But listen, he's a great manager. There's no question about it. His record is there for all to see. And you know all the criticism I'm giving out here at this minute? I've done the same things myself. So at the end of the day, so I think that hopefully you pick up and you learn from it. You know, it's not going to happen because they will continue to play out exactly as you say. They will continue to do that there. But if it's going to cost you in the long term, it didn't cost them in terms of all the goals that might have been scored tonight, but one day it will do.
Mikel Arteta is presumably quite a happy man after all that.
Mikel, how much of a statement was that, beating one of the top-ranked teams in Europe quite comfortably?
Really happy. Obviously, we want to make the Emirates a really difficult place to come. We really want to feel comfortable, reassured that against big opponents we can play our own way, and I'm really happy with the results, with the clean sheet. With the performance, especially in the first half, and then the second half we have to adapt the way they played as well. Forced us to be much deeper than we wanted in many moments, but we're still happy to play that game.
Set pieces continue to be a very important part of your game. Is it time to give a shout out to your set piece coach?
We always do. We always give credit to the coaches for the work that they do. But at the end, the players have to buy into that, you know. And we put a lot of effort and work into that. It's a situation that can change the game. Today it did. We had another 3-4 big open situations to score, and we didn't. So we have to score somehow to win games. Is
it fair to say that it is a part of the game that more teams are working on, much more compared to a couple of years ago?
Yeah, no. I think in the last five years it was an enormous change. You see that the amount of specialists that are in the game, and everybody works on everything, and that's why it's tougher and tougher to win.
Finally, you're still unbeaten this season. What do you say about the level of consistency that the team is in at the moment?
Yeah, really good, because especially after the international break, it's been a really challenging period. The amount of games, the level of the games, the little recovery that we had between games in comparison to other teams. Injuries still, you know, the team adapts, the team wants it, and we continue to win.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't worry, that set-piece coach has been getting plenty of shout-outs. I've given him a couple already myself tonight. Kenny, we've done their Premier League game at the weekend against Leicester. That match tonight, has it influenced how you think about Arsenal's season, what you've seen over the last couple of days?
No, probably just reinforced it, if anything else. Just feel the strength and depth now in the squad. Look at that kind of midfield, speaking about Rodri up in Manchester City, of the strength Arsenal have in there, that partnership of Partey and Declan Rice. They could lose one of them. They have a replacement there already. Marino came off the bench and got minutes there, so he's another option from that central midfield area. Timber as well, coming to Calafiore, strengthened that defensive area of the pitch. And Enrique alluded to it there. He mentioned about we lost too many duels, and I think what he was talking about was they couldn't deal with Arsenal's physicality, and this is a strong, physical Arsenal team who can play and win in any number of ways. And if PSG are to improve in any area, even those kind of fundamentals, just physically being able to stand up to that type of Arsenal team, which they are. They're technically good, clever footballers, but they can look after themselves. And if you want a physical battle with Arsenal, as they showed up at the Etihad last week, no problem at all.
Shay or Martin, either?
Yeah, right. Yeah, Enrique said before the game that Arsenal might be the strongest side in European football when they haven't got the ball. And I think that's been proved over the last couple of weeks. Particularly Manchester City couldn't break them down really until the last minute of the game, or the 96th minute, and they were down to 10. Even in the second half here, even though we felt from a distance they're comfortable, they sat back. You heard Havertz saying, we thought we dropped a wee bit too deep. But even so, they know that they're protecting a 2-goal lead at the end. They're comfortable in many aspects. Yes, they had Paris Saint-Germain had that chance where it hit the bar, in the top of the bar, but that was isolated, I must admit. There was no concerted pressure on them tonight, and Arsenal continue to impress defensively.
Best team in the world without the ball, Shay?
Big statement, that one.
It's not from me, it's from Luis Enrique, to be fair.
Yeah. I mean, I think Luis Enrique, obviously, they've all got top analysts as well at these clubs, at these top clubs as well, and surely he would watch Arsenal this season and say they press high up the pitch, so we need a plan B to sort of miss out that press or do something different. They didn't have a plan B, I felt, but Arsenal at the minute doesn't seem to have any weaknesses. Now if somebody like Kai Havertz or something, it seems that they might have a problem, but at the same time they're so close, they're knocking on the door on all fronts, Champions League and Premier League, but until they can actually open the door and get their hands on something, we could be sitting here this time next year saying the exact same thing.
Okay, well listen, I think that's the first time we've heard the use of the word superannuated on the show, Martin. So you brought a new one to us there, nicely done. Rice doesn't look too badly injured, hobbling a little bit, but what do you make of Arsenal's performance?
Yeah, no, I'd be really pleased. Arteta probably looked about 78% capacity, most of those Arsenal players. And what I look about Arsenal, we're seeing more of it these days. They can play anyway. They can go after you, press you high up the pitch. At times they drop off. They're prepared to allow you to have the ball. They actually entice you into their half the pitch, such as the confidence they have in their defensive structure now, and they can braid out quickly and hurt you on the counter-attack. So more of a battle-hardened Arsenal team against the kind of work in progress you felt PSG team, who were out some of their best players. They had no focal point to the attack. Martin makes the point correctly about the midfield three, a little bit samey in there, playing a lot of safe passes, but they probably didn't have that focal point. Ramos up front, that number 9 who was pinned in centre half, saying, yeah, give it the ball into my feet, you can play off me. No Dembele, who's a big player for them off the right-hand side. So I'd cut them a little bit of slack, but certainly they need to improve.
You're giving Arsenal a chance to win the big ones this year, the Champions League and especially the Premier League. Shay, you're not so sure? Any more convinced after tonight? Because that's a high-quality outfit.
Yeah, I'm still not convinced until they prove me wrong, I suppose, and get their hands on some silverware. Then I still think... I know Havertz has scored a game, but I still think they're lacking maybe a focal point when it comes to the latter stages of the season. Big games, it comes down to the final home straight, and even in the Champions League as well. Have they got that big player to step up and get them? And time will tell, and Arsenal fans will be probably shouting at the TV, will prove him wrong, because you can be left with egg on your face, I suppose, if they pull it off.
Well, they are finding different ways to do it. Set pieces is one way, which is as old school as it gets, Martin, and they've also got the Havertz and these non-traditional strikers who are chipping in.
Yeah, well, you talk about set pieces, it's part of the game. And a couple of years ago, I think it was the opening match of the season, a couple of years when they went to Brentford, and they were absolutely mauled, for set pieces. And they've learned about that there. Not only have they learned defensively, but offensively as well too. So it's a big part of the game. But they can play as well too. Saka's a brilliant footballer. I know I mentioned this earlier, but to me, he's the outstanding player. He's the most creative player. And Arsenal play relatively simple in many aspects. Strong midfield, really strong in the midfield, strong running midfield, but eventually overload so that they can get Saka on a one-to-one situations. And invariably, he'll go past players.
Saka's a great example. We know, as Mar spoke about, his qualities there, technical ability, assists, his numbers are phenomenal off the chart. But his work rate. Now, if there was a lesson there we mentioned Barcola before the game, didn't have a great night. But being on the same pitch as Saka tonight is an indicator to him the level he has to get at. Not only in possession, but our position. How hard Saka works for the team is absolutely phenomenal.
You losing faith in Barcola?
No, I'm sticking with him.
Sticking with him for now, yeah.
Please
He's destined for the top. He's destined for the top, that kid.
No, he's not.
Might just take a little bit longer. A good day at the office there. 2-0 win for them. Kai Havertz was the scorer of goal number 1.
Kai, well done. A winning start at home. How do you sum up the performance?
Yeah, I think we played very well, especially first half. Second half, I think sometimes we were a bit too passive, but still, it was a good game, great result for us, and good 3 points.
You're enjoying this stage. It's your stage right now, this stadium. 6th game running you've scored. Why so at home?
I don't know. It feels great to play here. I love the stadium, I love the fans, and I'm just so thankful to be here and to play with that team.
Alan Shearer, our commentator, said you look like you're enjoying the physicality of the game as much as any time in your career right now.
Yeah, for sure. I think it was a big step for me. I think back in the days, I wasn't the player who loved the duels and everything, but right now I just love it and love to help the team with that.
When you see that cross from Leandro coming in, maybe you know Donnarumma's coming. What are you thinking?
I didn't even think too much. I just saw the ball, went for it, and was lucky that I was in front of the goalkeeper.
And you know what it takes to win this competition. Beating Paris Saint-Germain tonight, semi-finalists last season. What does it tell you about Arsenal in this competition this season?
Yeah, I think we are there. If we win against teams like this, it's important. You know, it always gives us a big boost. And last year, I think against Bayern was tough to go out against them, to lose against them. But I think we grew up as a team and want to get better this year.
You sense a conviction, a belief around the stadium, which there maybe hasn't always been in this competition for this team.
Yeah, but it's so nice to play here. You see the fans before the game, especially how they support us, in difficult moments. That's the most important, and we want to give always something back to them.
Kai, well done tonight. You are as well player of the match. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Player of the match. It was a pretty good interview as well. I thought that was interesting, Martin, what he said about having to learn to start enjoying the physical side of it, because he's a unit.
I think that's right, because when he came over here, I know he's scored in the Champions League final, but at the end of it all, he had a lot of difficulty, and it looked as if he didn't like the physicality of the game.
Kind of ghosted around the periphery a little bit.
Ghosted around,
yeah.
no genuine pace, crowd getting at him, things like this here. And even in his days at Arsenal, funnily enough, when I was actually at a game, Brentford versus Arsenal, must have been 2 seasons ago, perhaps now, and he comes on and scores in the last minute of the game, and it's almost like galvanised him. It's as if I've broken off something here. I can do this, and he's taken off. I'm not saying that particular minute. Me watching him was the one was suggesting that, but really it was, and he's been fantastic, really. Although I am inclined to agree with Shay that I think that Arsenal may need what you think about in terms of a centre forward, you know?
Well, let's have a look at Havertz's moment tonight, though. Martin, this is the goal that set them on their way. And it's the usual... This is a lot. He goes in, but he gets in the end of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. He's looking at the play here at this minute. It's a lovely little ball in, but it's one that the goalkeeper you're thinking about. As Shay mentioned, he's only just back. He's missed the last couple of games, Donnarumma. But Havertz, I honestly don't think that about a season and a half ago Havertz would have gone for that. And he's done it now, and he's gone very bravely.
How often he's done it now, Martin, isn't
Absolutely.
it? And when you look at the pictures back, and I'm sort of not backing my own argument here, he glides into for midfield, so the centre half's going to have no one to pick up, and he arrives in them positions a lot. And as you mentioned, the size of him, 6'3", 6'4". He's brilliant in the air.
Yeah, he done this a lot for watching him play Leverkusen quite a bit. He played in kind of a number 10 position. The amount of times he glided into the box, and is one of his strengths actually is kind of aerial ability. But he lost his way a little bit. And you're right, he lost his confidence. First half of last season, he was absolutely shot, and he found something second half of the season. Fair play again to Arteta. He stuck with him, kept putting him into the team, and he finished the season strongly. And he's picked up where he left off.
The second goal was, there's not much positive to say about the defending on this one. This is credit to Saka, because it was Saka's goal, because no one touched it on the way in. Yeah,
there's a few things about this. So it's that near post zone, of course. For me, you always need a defender in there, because the defender knows he has to open up his body. He's got to see those runners coming, and he's got to make sure he's the first one that goes to meet the ball. That's exactly what Barkley doesn't do there, and he doesn't do it because he's not a defender, and he hasn't got those defensive instincts. What I would say behind him, I think PSG need to do a little bit better, because Arsenal flood that near post area. You look at the number of Arsenal players arriving here, and Marquinhos is absolutely swamped by about 2 or 3 Arsenal players. And the last thing I'd say is Donnarumma, for me, has to stick that right arm out. Have a look at him here. That's kind of powder puff from the PSG goalkeeper for me. I think he needs to make himself bigger there, and at least anticipate that ball potentially might come in a straight line and get that right arm up.
What do you
Go on.
agree?
No, I'm just listening to the goalkeeping expert.
Oh, so you can comment about the outfield players. We can't comment about goalkeepers.
I was going to agree if you give me a chance, because that last angle was a wee bit damning on the goalkeeper, if I'm being honest, because you can see the flight of the ball coming to him, and obviously he gets distracted by the bodies coming across him. But as a goalkeeper, if he keeps his eye on the ball, he should really make the save, can he? If I'm being honest. And if someone toe pokes it in front of him and goes in there, there's nothing you can do with that one.
He was extremely highly rated at one stage.
He was. I mean,
and he's supposed to be a great shot stopper, if not amazing with his feet. So he didn't really stop the shots tonight.
He didn't know, and Martin might show you some stuff playing out from the back as well. I don't think he's the best with the ball at his feet either. So they're still, they paid. He's highly paid, one of the highest paid goalkeepers in world football, I think. But I still think there's question marks over him, both with the ball at his feet and also obviously with his goalkeeping.
Paris Saint-Germain had a few moments we showed at half-time in the first half. Maybe a few for being generous in the second half.
Well, they need one of these to go in, didn't they? I think this is maybe Ruiz at the near post. I suppose you need a bit of luck in football as well. Could have hit the bar when under. Raya was baiting on this occasion. But you needed one of these to make a game of it, really. Look at the clock on the top end of 66 minutes. This is Ruiz with a long-range sort of shot. Probably Ray comfortable enough, this one. I think it's Lee with a shot. This is a decent save, and because it moves a lot, and Ray has to readjust his position. But again, if you're shooting from 30 yards out, Arsenal Arteta will be happy enough with that position.
Ousmane Dembele might have been handy out there tonight, Shay. He was dropped for disciplinary
that's the
reasons.
other question mark now, and I would imagine the media back in France will be having a bit of a field day. Did the manager, and Martin's probably a good person to ask this, did the manager get it wrong? Because their star players not there, and they were a bit powder puff in front of the goal. Would he have made the difference?
What do you think, Martin? I presume you have to stand by your decision. You can't just go by the result.
Absolutely right. You have to do that. What might be interesting about it, and I might know this myself, that if this is the second Champions League game, if this had been the last Champions League game and Paris Saint-Germain needed something for it, maybe the referee. It's that great old quote, I have principles, and if you don't like them, I have others. So I think that's it. That's the big thing about it. So I don't know. I wonder what I would have done myself.
Yeah, I wonder though, Kenny, because when you look at their fixtures, they've got some hard games. Atletico, they still have to play Bayern, Manchester City, Stuttgart, which is Martin's dark horse. So they've got some tricky fixtures. I doubt they'll finish outside the top 24, but certainly like a top 8 automatic spot in the last 16 looks very tricky now.
Yeah, but that's the beauty of this, how we're set up now. You can afford to take a few kind of hits, a few beatings almost, but you got your prize in those 2 or 3 kind of wins, which will take you through. So you're right, you've got some difficult fixtures coming up, but I still expect them to accumulate enough points to actually even to get into the knockout stages. And that wasn't their best 11. Let's clarify, that wasn't their best 11 on the pitch this evening. Kimpembe comes in at centre-half. The 2 substitutes, even Ruiz, he has to come back into centre midfield, like we said. Otherwise, they're too lightweight in there, too many similar players. And Mouani, at least gave him a physical presence, had a bit of running power when he came off the bench. So for me, there's more to come from this PSG team.
What happened to the new identity we were supposed to see, though? It's a new team. That's part of the reason that he was dropped and Dembele was dropped. And Enrique's been big on this. It's his second season in charge now. It's just too early to judge them. Yeah, but that doesn't come in an instant in terms of building that rapport and that kind of culture at a football club. That was a first step in terms of slapping Dembele down this evening. So, yeah, like I said, I think the fans are going to have to be patient with the manager moving forward. This team has to evolve and improve. We'll wait and see.
Yeah, I think short term, he might get some criticism for it, but generally speaking, I think what he'll done, he sent down the marker, and I think the players will respond to that there. I think they'll feel Dembele's not got away with it, whatever it may be, and this man's here for the future.
Yeah,
that's
he's in charge.
Point. Yeah.
There were a couple of half penalty shouts. Any more than that, do you think, for Paris?
Oh yeah, I thought the second was half to 3/4, to be honest with you. Declan Rice. Not this one for me. Look, the rules of the game, ball hits that. Is it a natural position for the arm to be in? I think it is. The ball only travels 3 yards. It hits Calafiori, but his hands by his side for me, so no penalty. That's pretty straightforward for me.
The second one is from a corner kick where there's a little bit of grappling, which we see a lot of. There was a bit of a clampdown on this at one point, Kenny. It doesn't seem to be a problem anymore.
Declan Rice does a lot of this for me. I'm talking about physically imposing yourself. I've no problem with that. But when you turn your back on the ball and wrap both your arms around the opposition player, preventing getting him off the ground, you're really running a danger there, giving away a penalty kick.
I'm with you, Kenny, on that there, because every single week a corner against Arsenal, and Rice is doing exactly that. He's not been punished for it so far, but somewhere along the way, messages get through, finally get to referees and people like us here, you know, they're listening in, they tune in, and eventually they'll
start listening to Kenny.
They'll definitely listen to Kenny. There's no question.
Who never
about it.
grappled, of course. Yeah, never grappled at a corner kick, I'm sure.
You know, I can see a referee being interviewed and saying that's all down to Cunningham. You know,
well, I never looked away. I never heard a coach more they encourage a player to turn his back on the ball to try and mark a play. And for me, it actually threw me off kilter when I couldn't see the ball and I was purely focused on the player. It made me kind of really nervous. Not how can you impose yourself and get yourself into the right defensive position when you can't actually see the ball?
Well, you're not trusting your teammates. If everyone else is doing their job and your only job is basically to rugby tackle one of their main headers of the ball, then that's what you have to do.
Taking a huge risk from there.
It's a gamble, isn't it? It's a gamble. The referee, especially in the Champions League, you can see them picking them up. VAR's he's lucky. I think he got away one there. The second one, definitely.
Yeah, would they be coached to do that? I mean, is that all part of this?
Well,
is this Nicholas Jover's part of his master plan?
Going back years, you see the Italians sort of defending and they have their arms out and blocking. And I think he can get away with it easier. But what Rice is doing there is nearly like grappling and getting his arms around him.
Dark arts, would you call it, Shay?
I would call it the dark arts.
They're good at that one. Well, allegedly, yeah. What else was happening? So Arsenal were getting a lot of joy, Martin, out of pressing Paris Saint-Germain high. Paris didn't seem to have much of an answer for this. You weren't impressed with how they tried to play through it.
Yeah, I've got this feeling that most teams in world football are unable to play the ball out from the back. And they're very, very few. And that's obviously a great save, it's a nice little move. But these are just gifts for Arsenal. And of course they would know this, that Paris Saint-Germain are trying to play it out from the back, so they'll close them. And they take the ball off them, and suddenly, for nothing really, they're getting in on goal. We're seeing some examples from this here from the second half, but it was happening all first half as well too. What happens is the big centre half plays the ball to Mendes. Generally speaking, in the first half, Mendes has nowhere to go. He's trying to find his midfield player. His midfield player gets closed down, and this is just look at it. You know, these are shots on goal and proper chances, all because of Paris trying to play the ball out.
Yeah. This is the modern game, isn't it? I'd say 80-90% of football teams that I watch, whether it's Premier League, Championship, Electricity over here, everybody's looking to play this way. And it's always the same, risk and reward. Are you good enough to play around that initial press?
But they should be good enough. I understand when teams of a low level are trying to do it and they don't have the capability. But if you're Paris, if you have all the money they have, you have the technical ability they have, surely they'd be a club that should aspire to be able to beating a press, no?
But if you're being closed down by really good players, then it is very, very difficult. So no matter how talented you think you are, if you're being closed down by an equally talented player who can take the ball off you and then outrun you, perhaps.
What they didn't have as well, Martin, was a focal point. They didn't have, we've already mentioned this, they didn't have a bigger striker. They could miss out the press. Play over the press. And then what happens if you play over the press a couple of times, Arsenal just drop off and then you can start to play.
There is a logic to it though, right? Luis Enrique is a vastly experienced manager. He has had success. So he sees some benefit if they can make this work over the longer term.
I'll tell you what would be interesting. I'll tell you what would be really interesting. I don't know whether anybody has ever done a stat in this. It's been going on now for a couple of seasons.
I don't have that stat. Don't worry about that, Martin.
I'd love to know what the stat is for the number of times that the press has been beaten by the number of times that the players have closed down and robbed them. Yeah. You know, that would be really interesting.
That sounds like a college PhD that somebody has to get involved in.
It's not, because, I mean, the game is stats-driven now at this minute. Therefore, that should be really important.
Well, we're talking about every single level, Martin. I mean, we're talking about, as Kenny says, Champions League level, we're talking Premier League. How many goals? Like, look at Southampton's probably a good example in the Premier League. How many goals are they conceding by overplay?
Burnley last year, probably a good example.
Please, there are times to play it out. Don't be thinking I'm just what do you call it, superannuated Luddite or something like this here. But there are times, and you can play the ball out from the back. But if you're being closed and you're being seen to do that, surely heavens a goalkeeper can see the situation and think, I can't play it straight in there.
Goalkeepers can't say very, very much.
Generally speaking, the only thing I would say in the goalkeeper's defence is that he's been coached to play from the back.
That's true.
So no matter what happens, Arsenal do, I still want you to give it to the centre-half, I still want to give it to the right-back, whatever.
The goalkeeper is key, though, as well, isn't it? If you've got Ederson at the back, you can begin the play from there. You need your goalkeeper to be your best ball player, effectively.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean,
some of them are now.
I think Ederson's probably killed all the old goalkeepers around the world because he is like a centre midfielder playing in goals, and he's so good, he's so comfortable on the ball.
But Donnarumma looks a bit clunky, doesn't he?
Donnarumma, like I think he's about 7 foot tall, so it's a long way down from the brain to the feet, you know.
Just got to mix it up. I think he's just got to be smart with it. Like, I mean, we see Manchester City probably the best that there is in terms of playing it out, but they don't mind hitting it back to front to Haaland overneath the press if they have to, but they have that physical presence up front.
Let's see what Luis Enrique has to say post-match. Here is the Paris manager.
باقي نربح هادي ونربح ما عرفت لا ما باقي 2 ماتشات فقط نقطة
ايش
وستة
يرتاح
2
نكون في هاد
ماتشات ولا
الميس.
ماتش قولها
نعم
بقى دابا بقات نقطة
ما
خاصها
عرفتش ما عرفت.
يعني 2 ماتشات
اه
اه ولا كنشوف هاد
بينا تعطيني بيناتي رابعات.
بديتي شي حاجات
اوه اوه شمتني ولد الكلبة.
يا طاير هادول الجد اللي عطاني انا من
تعادلنا.
شتات ديما تيعطوني واحد
اه
واحد الله يعمر لي هاد الدار
شتي باقي شتي باقي. ثاني فاش فرقة عندنا هذا غنسلفو صافي. عندي فرقة هي هنا عندي اه ما عندناش أصاحبي. بس نربو تكون دابا خربيلة مش حقاش. فيق تدير تبوث
فعاليات
تبوث في
والله
الجزائر.
العظيم جدك
كريم صيص الصدمة كاس غدا يقول لي لا علاش ما شريتيش ليا فوتوشوب
واش ليه دابا اش تدير؟
واش كدير واش شتي ماشي
ليه دابا؟
لا هو راه
غدا عارف
مشغول
غدا غادي نقول لك التصويره ايوا
هو راه
توكل على الله.
مشغول هو راه مشغول دابا فهمتي قلتها لي قال لي لا خصني نكون
ما قال ليش هاد الشي تاع تبدل لي، ما قال لي خصني ندير لك ايمايلك وهذا، قلت ليه صافي في الليل نكون، اما الا تيتبدل لي ما غادي يشري.
ايميل صافي كتحل الكونط صافي من ايميل
امريكا عندنا جوج زيرا صاحبي.
واش قدرت تكون خدام ويمشي لك في البلاصه واش غرضو علاش هادو مهاجمين عندي ثلاجة هاد هاري كاين الله يعطيك العافية بس معاك ما درتي شي لقب
غادي نرجع عاوتاني نتفكو.
اصاحبي
كان
والو
عندي
عندي
مسلف صون وكان عندي واحد التويشية أخرى كنت ديما رابح، تندير فن نعلق عليهم الباسطوير سدات مادام.
الله يعجبك هاك
زادني التالت الصوت.
زعما خصك البوت البوت راه ما كيعاونك يقول لك هاكا بغيتي تقصر به وصافي دابا شنو يدير لك يخربها انا انت هو صاحب الدراري الله يغفرك دوزي فيا الدراري ارمى على بالك تخيل الضقة يتري عالم على 20 زراوي تخيل خذ قلت كراش دابا ولكن بالروز ولكن في ذاك الجروب ديال التجارة بلاتي أنا نسولك واحد السؤال شنو هما الحوايج اللي جروب التجارة كانوا دايرينهم كنا كنديرهم ربحنا منهم بلا مجال 20 زعما داكشي كان تيقولوا بزاف صح جيب لي يلاه ما كنا كنضحكوا معاهم وصافي فاش كنشريو بزاف داكشي تيقولوا
كيتا كيتا عاوتاني عاود رجع تاني خطف نستريح شوية شوف المخرج
غالي داك الجروب
شي باكا جات
هما تيبيعوا داكشي فهمتي
شي دابا كنستريح واحد شوية تكيف شي جوج طاينة
داك
البال.
الكوينزات تيبيعوا هذاك اللي دخل معايا ديك النهار قصر معايا أوردوني ولا معرفت شنو قال لي فين ما كاينش تما قلت له عندك علاش مبقيتش كتبيع الكوينزات قلت له أنا فين أخويا عمري كنت تنبيع أصلا كلشي كاين تما ماشي كلشي ولكن أكثر كاين اللي كيبيع وكاين اللي ستريمر الستريمر باش يجيبو اللعابة كيلعبو في الستريم داكشي كيفاش صاحبي تيشريو فلوس فهمت هو راه دار ستار وسط اللعب